Good afternoon, everybody. This is Kay from Spectre.ai, and with me I have our Chief Operating Officer, Zisis. Him and I are going to be taking this AMA today, and the session is recorded, so for those of you that have to leave halfway, or you want to catch up later, or for those of you that couldn't attend it, it will be uploaded to our website under the videos section. So we're going to keep this pretty quick in terms of what we have to say about the forecast. I would like to take the opportunity to allow you guys to ask your questions and concerns. Obviously, it's a very popular document during our ICO run-up, or the run-up to our ICO, and you probably have a lot of questions that you'd like to get answered live. So in around a minute's time, we'll kick everything off, okay? Just waiting for more for you to drop in. So let's kick off in a minute. All right, let's kick this off. So before we begin, for those of you that are new to GoToWebinar, we're going to be using this going forward, no longer YouTube AMAs, mainly because those are unprofessional. These are more professional, and also, if you want to ask a question, you have the ability to put your hand up. There's a small button, but you don't need to do that because we'll be taking that towards the end. And you can type your question out, and then we will read it here, and then we will address it as well. It's probably the easiest that way, given bandwidth considerations. Okay, so let's kick this off. If you go to our website, you will find on www.spectre.ai, under the documents section at the top, we have quite a few documents. And probably one of the most important ones, of course, are our forecasts. And this is how they look. Basically, when you open up the Google Drive document, it's a shared document, which means other people can view it and tinker with it, depending on which fields and assumptions they are tinkering with. So for example, anything in orange in the model can be tampered with, and you can play around, and the model is fully flexible and dynamic, so it also changes the outputs depending on how you change these orange inputs, okay? So that's one thing straight off the bat. The second and very important thing to note is that what you see here is not investment advice. It's not an ROI calculator. And it is basically our internal forecasted trajectory of how many users we want to bring to the platform, what our assumptions are, and so forth. It is not promissory in any respect. So that's just one thing very important to take into account. We have basically predicated the business on 3 forecasts. Okay, we have, starting with the balanced forecast. That's if things go to plan, what we have planned, then we should, in our view, be able to deliver these forecasts. And I'll go over those a little bit more in depth. If, however, things come in better than expected, which is possible, given that ours is a highly disruptive technology, then we think somewhere close to our bullish forecasts. Certainly in the shorter run. In the long run, of course, you know, things can catapult much higher, but so in the short run, we think those figures could be possible. And then we also have what we call a quote-unquote disaster scenario, or a bear case scenario, where we are not able to execute the vision and the product as per plan. And you can also see what that means in terms of numbers, profitability, and more importantly for you as potential token holders, especially the D token holders, the dividend ones, and what that means in terms of dividend yield every year as well. So there are 3 forecasts. You can just toggle between them using this worksheet function at the bottom, which you should be seeing live. Okay. And then we also have created what we call a sandbox, which allows you to actually go inside and play around with a lot of these figures. In the first three worksheets, balanced, bullish, and bearish, you can't really change much, but in the sandbox you can go inside and play around with almost all figures and see what output that gives in terms of Spectre revenues, in terms of the dividends for token holders, and a range of other metrics. Okay, so starting with the balanced forecast scenario, which you see here, basically the assumptions are from rows 9 to 25. Here you can see what level of net ICO proceeds post, whatever tax there is, and post payments to bounty and post payments to advisors and all of that. What the net ICO proceeds are, as you know, around 20% allocation of that will go straight to the liquidity pool. That's the pool that you see in the Spectre DApp. When you log in and you start trading, at the top, you can see the live balance. And then you can effectively see the year one, which is effectively 2018 March, end until 2019 March. Okay, so we have a March year end as opposed to a December year end. And the first year for us, we are planning to put in around 3,000 traders through the system that go on to effectively trade around 8 trades per day, and the average trade size is $30, resulting in a total volume per day of around 240. Now, these figures, the 240 is actually an industry figure. It's coming from the digital options industry. We have links to some big brokers because of the education business we run, so we have access to management where we can get this type of data. And so this data here is actually well grounded in reality. So obviously it won't mean that immediately when the platform launches, we'll have 3,000 traders from day one. That's important to note. There's a ramp up period, right? But over time, over a few months, this is a figure that is achievable. And then of course you have the win rates, the win percentage. This is an average, 75%. As you know, the payouts can vary from 70% all the way up to 90% plus, depending on market conditions. And then you have the 2%, the famous 2% Spectre fee and 2% dividend. What's important to note is that you'll notice that this model here is mainly for smart options, which is the first contract type, which is already live. You can try it on the platform. And so this is why you see this fee structure. When we introduce ULC CFDs, you will see a breakout of these forecasts for the ULC CFDs as well, right? So that's a completely separate contract type. It caters more to the FX traders. It brings an entirely new spectrum of traders to the platform, right? So that's important to bear in mind, because we have received a few questions about this 2% and 2%. This is very cheap in the digital options industry, right? And as long as we're paying out these type of payouts, we are well above board. So these are the assumptions that you can play around with, and you will then basically see here as you scroll down the number of traders and how that is forecasted to grow over the forecast horizon. So we expect 3,000 this year, 7,500 next year, 15,000 the year after that, 27,000 the year after that. And then you can also see the volume that we are forecasting these traders to effectively turn over. And the volume is, again, it just goes, it's the number of trades per day multiplied by the average trade size, right? And then based on the mechanics, based on the win rates that these traders are achieving, and that's, again, industry numbers that we're using here. Actually, we're more conservative. You can see here that we have a 52% win rate assumption. It's actually 49.8%, the industry. So basically, we have a buffer built into there. And what this means is that these are the gross revenues we are expecting in the first full year, okay? And from that, remember, that's just gross revenues. We actually are expecting Spectre fees of 1.6 million. And then a similar figure paid, of course, because you're also getting 2%, similar figure paid to dividend token holders. And then, as you know, we also have end of year special dividend, right? And that's predicated on how the liquidity pool grows over the year up and above a certain benchmark that we set. So the benchmarks that we have set for year one are 20% growth, 30%, 50%, 50%, and so forth for the out years. So if the pool grows by over 20%, then we will pay the incremental growth out as dividends to token holders at a 70-30 share. Okay, so you can see the split here as you go down of special dividends and how much the actual token holders are getting, how much Spectre gets from that. And then you can see the combined dividend per dividend token. This is the important figure for dividend token holders. More importantly, it's not the actual cent amount, because look, the token is priced at around 15 cents, right? Both tokens are. It's actually the dividend per token divided by the price per token, which is how you compute the yield. That means given how much bucks you're putting in, what bang are you actually getting out as an investor? So the dividend yield on our base case forecast is set to be 41% and climbing as the years go by. And then obviously you have the net liquidity pool, okay, which is forecasted. Again, this is based on the assumption that we have a net 10 million ICO with 2 million going to the liquidity pool. At the end of year one, you can see what it is and what we forecasted to grow over time. Okay. That's it in a nutshell. Again, all these growth forecasts in orange can be tweaked when you go to Sandbox, and you can also tweak all of these assumptions. So then you have something a bit more complex for those of you that are more numbers focused, that you want to kind of get a grasp on what do all these numbers actually mean in terms of valuation of the Spectre token, so of the Spectre dividend token. The utility token cannot be forecasted, its price, because it is driven by different dynamics, as we have gone over in our literature. But the dividend token can be mathematically forecasted to a certain degree in terms of what its long-term value is, because what you can use is what is known as a dividend discount model or a Gordon growth model. And here we have the assumptions that go into this model, okay, the discount rate and how that breaks down between the risk-free rate, the market risk premium, project risk premium, systematic risk premium. These are all the parameters that go into this heavy discount rate we've used. And we've also put in a personal income tax constant. We've just said, look, if you plan to declare taxes, your average tax will be around 30%. Of course, we don't pay it post-tax. We don't deduct the tax. We're not the tax people, so you'll be getting it gross, right? But we're taking into account taxation as a reality for you. And so what the dividend discount model basically does, in layman's terms, is it looks at the annual forecasts, the annual projected dividend payments to token holders, and it basically adjust them for time value, because over time the value of money erodes, and so effectively we are discounting future cash flows, dividend cash flows that are accruing to you, dividend token holders, to today, using a discount rate, right? And this computes, or this results in something known as a net present value. Okay, and that's row 96. And on our base case forecast, you are looking at $2.81 a share, which is around 1,700% upside. Okay, so now, of course, some of you may say, wow, that's incredible. Yeah, that is nice in theory. If we hit our forecast, then fundamentally speaking, in terms of the fundamentals, this is the net present value of the token, right? So it indicates a very high upside. In practical terms, of course, we can never project how exactly our growth will play out. Like if you believe that our bull case is more likely the one that will track our true trajectory of growth, then you can scroll down in the bull case and see, okay, well there the net present value is $7 and a bit, $7 and change, right? Making it a very, very huge, absolutely huge upside. But if you look at the bearish, for those of you who believe, okay, these forecasts are out of whack, you guys believe that, okay, the management team will be delivering much slower than expected the growth. That's okay. You can scroll down and see, okay, there the net present value of Spectre tokens is almost fairly valued, right? There's a 10-15% pop opportunity or something like that. Okay, so it just goes to show that even in a very, very bearish scenario, there is still a small upside to the shares if you believe that that dividend discount model is a good method to compute a net present value. Okay. The important, I think, question that this also answers to a certain degree is, if you look at a lot of ICOs, including ours, that are raising an X amount of money and they're issuing maybe only 30% of their tokens, or in our case, 50% of our tokens or whatever, then if you do the implied valuation, you will get to egregious valuations, right, when compared to the startup space. So if you look at traditional offline startups today, they raise their Series A rounds at maybe valuations of 5 to 10 million. If you look at Bancor, Tezos, and some of the other ICOs, you're looking at valuations of 300-400 million, right? Off the chart valuations for products that don't yet exist and things like that. So let's kind of bring this back to Spectre. What does this mean? So from the perspective of a dividend token holder, if you look at our balance case forecast, you can see that there's a considerable upside, right? And the reason behind this is that you, as a dividend token holder, your earnings stream is different to our earnings stream. As a token holder, you don't own any equity in the parent company that is actually doing the ICO. The valuation of the parent company, if we hit our caps, will be around 70 million or something like that, 60, 70 million, which is actually not that high relative to other ICO peers. But yes, compared to the real world, it's on an inflated multiple. However, from the perspective of a dividend token holder, what the figure that's important to you is the value of those dividends, right? And so if you discount those back, you get a very healthy upside, right, in theory. If you invert the yield, so if you actually take this 40% dividend yield, or 74% next year, and then the year after that 85%, if you invert it, what I mean is if you use the reciprocal, you will get a multiple. And for those of you that are well versed with how to value businesses, using price to earnings multiples or enterprise value to EBITDA, or some of you who have more advanced valuation backgrounds that you are using balance sheet metrics like enterprise value to invested capital relative to return on invested capital divided by WACC. Some of you will know what I'm talking about. Most of you probably will not. Then you will see that the dividend token is actually ridiculously cheap, because with a 40% yield, if you invert it, you get to a valuation multiple of 2.5 times earnings next year. And you compare that to any tech stock out there or anything like that, with such a yield, you'll see that we're trading at a significant discount. Okay, so I think of course, ICOs get a hit because of their valuations. But it's also important to call spade a spade and see, okay, well, actually, if there's an ICO that is paying dividends, then it can be valued accurately using the Gordon growth model, or also traditional earnings growth multiples. And so I think that hopefully will lay to rest, to some degree, the question, well, what is Spectre's valuation commensurate with peers? We would say that on a PE basis, if you just look at the inverse of the earnings yield, we're probably very cheap compared to other ICOs. From a discounted cash flow basis, the dividend token, again, same story. And we've been very punitive with our discount rate. It's probably amongst the highest discount rates you will find for any project in the world. So that's kind of it on that front. That covers everything. I will turn it over to Zisis for now, in case he has any other things to say. Let me just unmute him. Zio, one moment. Zio, please go ahead if I've missed anything.
Yes, thank you. So the only thing I wanted to add is, because we get this question very often, is that, hey, I see all your numbers and everything, but I have a question. Do you actually take into account the tokens that are issued for the management? Or is it because we only see here the tokens that are issued and are being sold in the ICO? And the answer to that would be, yes, we take those into account. And where you can see this is on row 44. And sorry, could you move to row 44, please? On the per dividend token value. Okay, there. So if you see, Yeah. A bit to the, can you highlight cell B44, please? Thank you. So if you see here, it says B16 times 2. So this is twice the amount. This means the number 2 means for twice the amount of the tokens that are being actually, the dividend tokens that are being issued in the ICO. So this is how we take into account the number of tokens that are issued for management. And if you scroll down also to cell B54, you're going to see the same number there. So this is just for you to understand, and this is across the whole row, for you to know that, yes, we are taking into account the tokens that are issued to management, and this is how we do it. So this was one thing that I wanted to add, and now I think from my side, we are free to accept any questions that you may have.
Thank you, Zio. Okay. Got a few questions coming in. Give me a moment. Okay, so now is a good time to ask questions. Just type them out, please. Okay, and then we will happily pick them up and respond to them here live. Okay. I see a question from Peter Johnson. Are dividend tokens sold separately to the normal ICO tokens? Zio, do you want to take this one?
Yes, thank you. So basically, I would like to say no, they are not sold separately. They are part of the same token sale, and which starts on the 27th of October. And you'll be able to purchase both of them. And we will be issuing a detailed post on the whole process closer to the pre-sale date. So during that day, you will be able to purchase either, and you'll find out how.
Right. See a question from JB. How do dividend holders get paid the dividends? Good question. So we're using a pull method. This means that you, as the dividend token holder, will log in at the beginning of every new month to claim your dividends for the previous month, and you just have to log in, and our system will, you log into your account on site, and our system will ping your Ethereum wallet, and it will know how many dividend tokens you hold, and you'll be credited your entitled dividends. So you just have to log in, and you have a period of I think over 30 days to claim those dividends, right? So you will have ample time to do that. There's no rush. There's no first come, first serve. They're yours. For the dividends that go unclaimed, it's probably worth noting that we're going to be actually sending those to special causes such as rare diseases and effectively charity. There will be more information on that. We expect probably under 5% of dividends to go unclaimed, roughly speaking, if you want to put a number on it. So that'll just go directly to those causes. Let's see a question from Nathan Armour. Okay, Nathan is asking forecasted effects on overall marketing campaign and tactive in gaining new customers on platform outside of the crypto sphere. Okay, very good question, Nathan. So on the marketing campaign, in terms of customer acquisition from traders outside the crypto sphere, please note that we're not targeting cryptos on traders from the crypto sphere. Specifically, all these forecasts are outside because there are around 4.3 million traders that are getting scammed by brokerages around the world. And it is effectively that low-hanging fruit that we're bringing to the crypto world. So we're actually growing the Ethereum user base by bringing that industry. Just in binary options alone, digital options, there are around 500,000 traders. And we're just going for a small fraction of both that, the digital options market and also the FX market, bringing it over. We have an organic and inorganic growth strategy or customer acquisition strategy. As for the organic strategy, we're using obviously your run-of-the-mill CPA in combination with introducing brokers and affiliates. We have a wide network of those. And of course, we have our existing trading community that numbers a few thousand. We've been building this or curated it over the last 3 years through our education services and algorithm services. So that's the organic bit. The inorganic bit, of course, is the 1 to 2 bolt-on acquisitions that we are currently working on that we'll be using some of the funds. It's a small portion. It's under €1 million to purchase one market leader and one decent-sized player. It's a comer to bring them, to onboard them effectively. So it's both organic and inorganic. In terms of your question on forecasted effects on the overall market, in terms of market share, you can look at those figures in the white paper. All right. Okay, Zio, you want to take the next one? Matthew Greenspan is asking, are the dividend per token numbers shown on a monthly dividend or annual basis?
Okay, so these are on an annual basis, because if you see, can you scroll up a bit on your chart, please?
Sure. Here?
1 second, it's uploading on my screen. Yep, here is fine. So if you see on the row 27, each column represents a year. So yes, everything here that you see is on a yearly basis, but of course you can expect that by around 12 per month. But actually, as we grow, you will be seeing a lesser amount at the first months of the year and a higher amount at the end of the year, because more traders, and we will be having more traders closer to the end of the year that each column suggests. So it's on a yearly basis and not a monthly. That's the quick question, the quick answer.
Yeah. Okay. And I think what Zio was, the technical term Zio was referring to is the ramp up, effectively. Yes. So I see a question from Jermaine Richards. Using your bearish forecast, could you give us a rough idea as to the dividend yield of 5 ethers at today's value? So 5 ethers, let's say roughly it's $300, right? It's a bit higher now, 330, but let's say 300. So it's a $1,500 investment. And on our bearish case for forecasts, which you can see in the bearish worksheet that I've put up now on screen, you're looking at row 60, cell B60, which is the projected combined dividend yield per token. It's 8%. So annual yield of 8% on our bearish forecast, which would be 8% of 1,500. Comes to around 120. Okay, see a question from Yomer. Special dividend is only paid when it reaches a certain growth percentage. If it is not reached, will it be paid later in the year when it is reached? It's paid always, good question, it's always paid in January for the previous 12 months, right? So the books close, basically we need a 12-month period, right? The full year to see how the pool has grown. And if that's exceeded the target, then the increment is paid as special dividend. If it's not reached, then it will be rolled forward to the next year. But given our growth targets, that's quite it's quite low. If the growth targets were 50 to 100%, that'll be tough, but 20% it should be fine. So a question from JB. Yes, you would log into Spectre. So a question from And Loai. 2 questions, please. What is your client base? Our client base is effectively binary option traders, FX traders, equities traders, retail, right? We're not hitting the institutional market at first. And then on the crypto side, crypto traders, because you'll be able to trade on our platform and on our platform only smart options on a range of cryptocurrencies, right? So it's a very unique offering. Yes, you can change your intended offer as well, whatever that is too. Now is the time to do it because we are quickly approaching the 23rd. Okay, I see a question from David Ferreira. I'll take this one. Azio, you can take the Greg Smith one. David is asking, is there any chance Spectre platform can be banned in specific countries? And how would that affect the financial model? A good question. So one thing to note is that we are, the ICO company is based in the BVI. That's an offshore jurisdiction, and we're applying for a license in the Caymans, which, by the way, is very much above board in terms of hedge funds and brokerages. So we'll have a proper investment dealer license, and it won't be banned because we will be regulated. Longer term, we'll be regulated by the FCA, and we're starting discussions with the SEC after the ICO. That could take years. We don't know, but we're going to try. In terms of whether we accept clients from certain regions, yeah, for example, US traders won't be allowed on the platform, right? Because the US SEC is very strict about things like that. And so wherever our regulatory license works, that is where we can market to and we can accept traders from. But in terms of our platform being banned in certain countries, no, it won't be banned. All it would mean is that we can't market to certain countries. All right, question from Greg Smith. Yeah, it's a good question. So Greg is asking, do I need to have my tokens, and I presume you're referring to your dividend tokens, not utility tokens, in my MEW for 30 days to get the full 30 days worth of dividends? What if my tokens are in Ether Delta for 3 days? Do I get 27 days worth of dividends? Just one moment.
So basically, the answer to this question would be that the tokens, you're only allowed to pull the dividend from the pool once. So basically, if you are the holder and you pull the dividends, then the moment you sell them, the new holder will not be able to pull dividends again for that same month. When the new month comes in and you are the holder, and then you can of course pull the dividend, pull your share from the pool. If you don't do it and you wish to sell them, then the new holder will be able to pull their share as well.
Yeah, and I think what Greg was asking was also about the days. Does it matter the number of days he would hold the dividends? And the answer is no. There is no pro rata system here. Once you pull it, all subsequent, it basically depletes that portion that is allocated to you for that month. One thing to note is that the pull system is the one that we're going with now because it's the code for it has been well tested, and it's how many ICOs who pay dividends do it. There is a push system as well, which pushes the dividend to your wallet, your off-exchange wallet, and we are working on that. We just would need to test it for a few months next year and before we go live, right? So ultimately, we want to move to a push system, which is much easier for you. We don't want to ask you to log into the system if you don't want to. But because now from the security side of things, the code that is out there is for the pull method. So that's what we're using for now. Okay, I see a question from Maria Lisa. Can I open more than one trading account on Spectre? Yes, you can. I see a question from Joan Lanza-Gorta. Yeah, so I think Joan has a good question. Can you talk about the utility token as well? Not speculation, obviously, but is there any financial model forecasting the demand of them and how value may grow for that? The short answer is no, Johan, there isn't. we can easily tie and build a small model around the utility token take-up. We would effectively use a take-up rate or a percentage and attach it to these trader forecasts that you see here, the number of traders. And we would just take we would assume that maybe 30% of the traders buy X amount of tokens and activate the following privileges. The privileges you can find on our website under the token types document, which tells you what exactly the utility token does and talks a bit about the token buyback program, which is focused on the utility token. But there is no financial model where we're forecasting that because it's ultimately meaningless. It's not as robust as a dividend token model, which you can actually tie back down to a valuation model as well, right? With the utility token, you're not able to forecast value. All you can forecast is basically take up. So that's why we have not actually built that. If it's something the community would want, we're happy to do it. But it's just from a strict sort of financial engineering standpoint, it's almost noise to have that. Fantastic question. So I'm sorry, I'm kind of hogging the mic here, Zio. I'll let you answer Clive Hedges one. But let me answer Greg's. This is a great question. Is your plan to launch and build up Spectre to sell it in the next few years? If so, do we as token holders have any say in a premium what it be sold at? Yes. So this is an answer that I've given to a few times in the actual Telegram chat to quite a few people. So the answer is yes. We would be operating a pseudo DAO type of voting system, where in the event there is a change, there's a potential change in control of the entire system. I.e., what I mean by that is a buyout offer. The buying party would need to purchase at a community agreed premium. Now, in the traditional asset markets, if you look at equities, there's a quote unquote what is known as a customary 30% M&A premium. Okay, 30% is the average takeout premium. There's no way on earth we're going to be selling for a 30% premium, right? That's just not going to happen. So if the premium is something that we're happy with, but more importantly, the community, overwhelmingly, we're talking 80% plus says, okay, this is a good premium, whatever it is, right? 200%, 300%, 400%. Then yeah, it would be definitely a community-driven decision. Okay. Now, sorry, I noticed I didn't answer your first part of your question. So I answered the second part where you said, how will we dictate the premium or how will we decide? Greg has also asked, is it our plan to launch and build up Spectre to sell it in the next few years? The answer is no. Our plan is actually to dominate the market in the long term. Here, let me break this down. Nothing is more important than the first year, because in the first year, we will be going nuts, effectively trying to meet or beat our balance case forecast. That's all that matters to us, right? Because we want to hit our roadmap without delays, and we want to hit our forecasts and hopefully outperform them. That's the most important and the only thing next year for us, year one. If we can do that, we believe that there will be significant value creation for token holders, and that will give us more firepower in year 2 and year 3 to do things with the platform and take these things to the next level. Ultimately, as you know, we want to compete with institutions in a few years. That will require a much more beefed up version of Spectre, and we'll get there. But the answer is not to sell. So we're not that interested in selling. Mind you, we were approached to sell Spectre before we ICO'd around 4 weeks ago by a Cyprus-based brokerage. We have also been approached by a Saudi investor group to look at a sale. I mean, these are all early, but we have firmly not gone down that route. So the answer is no, we're not building this kind of like as a beauty pageant to get a big buyer to buy it out. It's not of interest to us. We first want to scale this up big, and that could take some time. So a question for Zizis by Clive Hedges. When Spectre includes other things such as sports betting, will the initial investors get 2% of those finances as well?
Basically, all the initial dividend token holders will be having access to 2% of the increase of the pool of the traded volume. So yes, all the apps that we will connect through the DApp store will be paying out percentage of dividends to the token holders as well. So to answer your question, yes, all the dApps that will be included in the dApp store will be also benefiting the token holders, the existing ones as well.
On that point, thank you, Zio. Just to show you how serious we are about the DApp, it's not like one of these things that an ICO team announces just to get a higher raise. We've actually agreed an MOU, and we'll be signing that shortly and putting out a press release with a major group in the US who is doing their own ICO early next year. It's going to be a huge ICO. We're looking at probably 100 million plus, and they're effectively creating a competitor to Alibaba, which is the biggest B2B supplier and parts marketplace. You've probably heard of them. They're out of Asia. And also it will compete directly with Shopify as well. So it's an enormous project of enormous scale, and that will be created as a DApp, and it will plug right into the liquidity pool of Spectre. And what that means is it kind of changes the ballgame, because right now, if you look at the investment case in Spectre, everything is just predicated upon these trader numbers, right? And whatever that trickles down to in terms of dividend yield for D token holders and what have you. But if you bring in this kind of behemoth DApp, which is disrupting this massive industry, and the trading profits, the profits of that DApp have nothing to do with smart option trading profits on our platform, right? So it brings in a huge diversification play as well for the stream. So the pool becomes so much more resilient when you bring in these different types of apps. We'll be announcing that alliance whenever we can. It may take a bit of time, but that just goes to show how serious we are on the DApp store to make this more a protocol play. Okay, I see a question from Andreas Teen. Yeah, great question. Andreas is asking, is this financial model just based on smart options, or does it include CFD and FX trading in the future? This model here is based on smart options. Okay, so the CFD and FX trading, which effectively in our system, in our platform, will be catered for using our ULC CFD contracts. They're the first of the type. There's more information in that 8-minute video I've done. That will effectively go directly for that big FX market contingent out there, right? The 4 million traders, the ones that say, look, I don't want to have time value attached to my trades. In digital options, you have to set an expiry. With ULC CFDs, you can just leave your trades open. And so that would be incremental on top of what you're seeing here in terms of traders and forecasts. See a question from George Golfino. Will you be able to trade ZAO and ZAG? Yes, George. Gold and silver are already on the platform, if I'm not wrong. Don't quote me on that, but if you log in, you should be able to see them. If not, they're definitely there upon launch. Okay, Zio, I have a question from Carlos Tobar, who's asking, will the dividends be paid in ETH or in Spectre tokens?
The dividends will be paid in ETH, just ETH. There won't be any dividends paid out in Spectre tokens. So this is not. This is unlike the other ICOs, the other projects where you are getting paid in the tokens of the platform. In our case, you are trading in ETH, you are getting paid in ETH, and the token holders are getting the dividend in ETH.
Okay. See a question from David Ferreira. Will I be able to store the dividend tokens on a Ledger hardware wallet? Do I need to send my key to the site in order to claim the dividends? The answer to your first question, it's an ERC20 token. So whatever privileges any ERC token carries with regards to offsite or cold storage would apply to this as well. In terms of the second part of your question, do I need to send my key to the site in order to claim the dividends? No. Please note, we will never ask you for your private key. You will absolutely not be disclosing that information to us. Okay. Yomer is saying, why is there echo and lag? Thank you, Yomer. See a question from Jamie Dimon. Jamie Dimon has graced us with his presence on this call, and he is saying, I just want to say I would invest in Spectre, both D and U tokens, but not Bitcoin just for a second. It's only for stupid people, right? Well, it's good to know, Jamie. Thank you. Yeah. So look, I mean, ultimately, we can see how the market manipulation works, right? He's saying he wants to invest in Spectre tokens, but not Bitcoin. So that's interesting. Okay. Jamie has another question for Zio on the affiliate side of things. Zio, do you have a dedicated page for banners for your affiliates soon? Zio, do you want to take that?
Right now, there is no such page available, but you can feel free to email us at team@spectre.ai and we will send you the info that you need. And also, just to let you know that we will be launching a dedicated site for affiliates very soon. So for now, please contact us at team@spectre.ai and you will receive, we will get back to you soon with the information that you need. But soon note that we will be launching our affiliate portal.
Okay. See a question from David Ferreira. If the liquidity pool reaches low levels, will you take measures to reduce to limit the wager limits? Will we ever be called to increase the pool if things go wrong? No. So you will never be called to recapitalize the pool or anything like that. The event that you are talking about has, just to give you some background, has never happened in the history of trading for an adequately capitalized broker, right? If you have a broker that has, let's say, $100,000 balance sheet, and they allow trades of $50,000 per trade, then yes, that broker has what you call significant liquidation risk. The value at risk, the VAR, which is one of the most important metrics when assessing balance sheet risk and portfolio risk, for those type of combinations is just ridiculous. To give you a background, the biggest trade that you can take in Spectre, let's say the Spectre pool is 3-4 million, the biggest trade that you can take in Spectre as a trader will be somewhere in the range of $1,000, $500 to $1,000 on the smart option side, right? So relative to balance sheet size, it's very, very tiny. So the VAR is very low. So you're talking about an event that is akin to, you know, all the planes in the sky falling out of the sky almost at the same time. If it happens, then yes, one would need to look at, you know, pool saving measures, which would include, we wouldn't be touching the payout side of things because we want to pride ourselves on that, but possibly wager limits and the amount of trades that a trader can take. But we will not be doing capital markets transactions and asking people to refund the pool, because that's just like throwing more money at a leaking bucket. See a question from Kwok Kanpam. If we hold the SpecDU tokens in multiple wallets, how is it going to work? From what you've told me on Telegram, it's going to be a pull system initially. Do we have to register all our SpecDU containing wallets so that it can take into account dividends? Not necessarily. What we would suggest is what Ziza said is we're putting out an actual schedule of how exactly this will work. It will be like a flow chart, very simple, and then this will hopefully answer your question. I see a question from Yomer Dijkstra. Will there be an event where we can meet the team and other investors like a year? Yes, we will be having an AGM, most probably in London or Dubai, just because of their international kind of center point nature to a certain degree. And yes, there will be, of course, the ability to meet the whole management team. And we actually think it'll be a big event, the way things are looking. So we look forward to that. Let's see. Okay, I see a question from Adetayo. What is your strategy to competition or copycats? Okay, so I've kind of gone over this before briefly, I guess, in the chat. I'll go over it again. So there is a serious problem with current brokers that are operating off the blockchain and they are engaging in B-book scam and all of that, right? And the issue is that because they are so used to taking 100% on clients' losses, not 2%, right, but 100%, their entire cost base is out of whack. The only way they could compete with us, even if they chose to choose our decentralized liquidity pool model, which is very unique in the industry, even if they copied our model completely, how would they be able to compete on the actual 2%? That's my biggest question, right? They would need to downsize their entire operations. I mean, take for example, um, just for example, if you would take a broker like binary.com, which is one of the big ones in the space, if you look at their model, it's your traditional binary options model, right? It's not on the blockchain. And there, to ask them to if they wanted to compete with us, they would first of all need to completely decentralize their balance sheet. And by doing that, then they can't continue charging 100% on client losses. They would need to actually meet us where we are at 2% and beat us in order to take share. So it's a very difficult situation for them to do that. The second thing is, of course, as I've stated earlier, we are exploring a patent on key aspects of our system. And once we have more information on that, we're a bit quiet about that right now because it is so important that we'd like to kind of keep it below the parapet. But once we have more information, we'll publish information there. And that's what I would say is kind of our view on strategy and competition or competitive strategy. Yeah, good question, Adetayo. Roughly speaking, I mean, Adetayo is asking, what is our break even, ours as a group, in terms of number of traders? Roughly speaking, because we haven't given a breakdown here of our full P&L, cash flow, and balance sheet, we've just given the revenue and the Spectre fees. We would break even at around, give me a moment. Yeah, we would break even at around 1,000 traders or so. A question from Matthew Greenspan. How did you forecast the 3,000 traders in year one? What are your plans to reach that goal? Okay, so I cannot go into our exact customer acquisition strategy in year one, mainly because competitors could be on this call and we're not going to give them anything, but I can basically defer you to our white paper where we talk about our organic and inorganic growth strategy and how we plan to get these traders. And it will make sense. I mean, in a nutshell, it will be our CPA and affiliate program and IB program on the organic side. And on the inorganic side, we are looking to purchase one or two brokerages who have together around 10 to 13,000 monthly active users. So hopefully that gives you some color. I see a question from Lois Garnier. For Spectre U tokens, what will be the minimum amount of tokens to gain all the benefits of the platform? Although I saw it in a chat figure of 100 tokens. So do you want to take?
Hi, Lois. So basically, that amount will be around 2 to 3K in tokens. So again, around 2,000 to 3,000 tokens. So please keep that in mind. We will be releasing all that information when we do, together with other information in our post. So please be ready for that, and all that info will be mentioned there.
Okay, good. See a follow-up question from Jamie Dimon. Obviously has a lot of time on his hands. Will you serve drinks at this party? Will there be women? Jamie, I would not know. You probably need to email cto@spectre.ai for that. So a question from Matthew Greenspan. What if there's a scenario where 75 to 90% of the tokens are Spec D? Would this not inflate the price of the Spec U and scare traders away from buying it? Yes, which is why we have an exchange rate stabilizer in place. And you probably want to know what that is. No problem. Happy to discuss that in Telegram. You can PM us what exactly that is. So we have carefully studied the effects of a token and its impact on the cost of purchases, so-called in-platform purchasing power parity, okay, IPPPP. Again, this is another thing many ICOs haven't thought about, right? All these ICOs have been structuring utility tokens, and they don't realize that if you have a publicly traded security that is, or whatever you want to call it, that can actually impact the buying power of privileges inside a platform, it's a huge gaping business flaw if you don't build in an exchange rate stabilizer. So we have that system in place. I wouldn't worry about it if that happens. We have that covered. Okay, I see a question from Adetayo. Thank you. You have a good business. Good luck. Thank you, Adetayo, as always. Okay, so we've reached the end of the questions. Does anybody have any more questions? Now is the time to ask or forever hold your trading peace. Okay, I see a question from Nathan R. Moore. Thanks, Kay. Looking forward to being part of this ICO. Good luck to you and your team. Thank you so much for your feedback. Thank you, everyone, for the feedback. It's very kind. This is absolutely huge. Okay, I see. Jamie Dimon has some closing remarks. I am a banker, of course. I have time on my hands, but thanks for the info. Can't wait for Spectre ICO. Thank you, Jamie. Thank you. Okay, thank you, everybody. And, oh, sorry, I'm seeing a last-minute question coming in from David Ferreira. Maybe you want to take this one. I'm just going to pull it up. Is there any limit of time span for the dividend token? Will it work as long as the platform works? Sio, do you want to take this one?
Yes. So no, there's no time limit, and the dividend token will be valid for as long as the Spectre platform is online. So you should not be scared of any of that, and you'll be able to get the dividends for as long as Spectre platform is online. Just one thing is that in order for you to pull your dividend, you will need to be logging in within that around 30 days period in order to claim it. Just a heads up. But other than that, it will work for as long as the Spectre platform is online.
Okay. So your question from, well, there's a follow-up question now from Matthew Greenspan. Will you give updates on what the current progress of the pre-sale funds are, or is that confidential, to get an idea of what forecast may be looking at, balance, bullish, bearish? Yes, Matthew, that's a very good question. We can give you some color on that, but as per legal, I cannot give you exact figures at this moment. But what I can tell you is that it is probably now impossible that we will be not being able to meet our minimum cap of 1 million, which probably doesn't tell you much. But that's what I can tell you right now. I can also tell you that as of around 5 days ago, 5-6 days ago, we have had to increase our hard cap for the pre-sale. If you recall, that was set at 10 million. That was smashed very quickly, so we have had to just make it open-ended, and the total ICO hard cap is 30 million. What I can also tell you is that we now have over 3,000 investors and counting. Unfortunately, I'm not at liberty to go over the numbers in terms of pre-commitments and all of that, mainly because it can create a market distortion and kind of a FOMO and all of that, which we just don't want to be associated with. Okay, I see a question from Teresa Rebours. Teresa Zio is asking, can we increase the amount of Ether above that which we selected at the pre-sale registration? Please go ahead.
Yes, Teresa, you can, first of all, there are two ways to do this. One is to send us an email at team@spectre.ai and we will take care of it before the 23rd of October. That's one. The second thing is we will be making available, most likely by tomorrow or Tuesday, the token sale portal where you will be able to log in with information that you used in order to create to whitelist yourself for the process, for the token sale process, and you will be able to have access there and edit all your details there. So edit the amount. But again, you will only be available to do the above until the 23rd of October. So two ways, either an email at team@spectre.ai or wait until you get access in the coming days to the token sale portal. Thank you.
Okay, a few questions coming in. I'll just go ahead and we'll address these and we can call it a day. See a question from Kwok Kanpam. Are you planning to do any marketing moves between now and the token sale? Yes, Kwok. So we have, so far we haven't really spent that many ad dollars because of your support, everyone's support. Now we've started to spend. As of today, we've started the yield tests, and there will be some considerable spending over the next, I would say 12, 13 days until which we hit the pre-sale date, 27th. And we have stuff coming out at Cointelegraph. I have 2 major AMAs planned with YouTubers that have a big reach, and we also have some smaller time interviews. And we have some advertising coming out on CoinMarketCap and some of the big ones as well. So the answer is yes. And also please note that after the pre-sale is over, depending on how that's gone, we also will be opening the tap a little bit for the main sale as well. Because if you remember, the main sale starts November 15th and ends December 10th or so. I see a question from, okay, sure. Thank you, Matthew. Thank you. I see a question from Kwok Kanpam. The ICO has been pretty discreet until now. Yes, it has been discreet, that's true. We haven't really spent much money on it, Kwok, in terms of the marketing side. We are always studying the landscape in detail first. So we're having a lot of conversations with different distributors. And it's only today or yesterday that we've started the yield test. So we're quite careful in terms of how we spend the money. So that's probably why it's been discreet. You should start to see a bit more progress. Also, please note that we have said no to a major deal with a celebrity. We were in touch with them before our pre-sale marketing began around 4 weeks ago, 4.5, 5 weeks ago. And at that point, obviously, we had no investors, right? Now we have over 3,000. And we had done this deal with them basically to see if we would require their endorsement, et cetera. Obviously, in the meantime, what has happened is that celebrities and ICOs don't go hand in hand anymore. It actually ends up hurting the ICO. And on top of that, we've had a lot of support from the community. So it looks like it's going to be a good raise from where it stands now. Okay, I see a follow-up from Kwok. It's a statement. I've contacted some YouTubers to promote this ICO too. Some are looking at it as we're speaking to CryptoLark, Box Mining, and DataDash. Excellent. That's very kind of you. Thank you, Kwok. You can PM me with further details and we can discuss. We appreciate that. Good. I see no further questions. So we're going to draw this to a close, and this will be uploaded to our video section shortly. Thank you all for your time, and have a good Sunday ahead.